My dear friends, today I want to talk about something so simple, yet so profound, something that can completely transform the way your life unfolds. Imagine this: you are the architect of your own future. Every choice you make, every action you take, every little habit you nurture is quietly building the life you will live tomorrow. And here's the beautiful truth: you don't need luck. You don't need extraordinary talent. All you need are small, consistent changes in your habits. Yes, habits, my friends. Change your habits, and you will change your future. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but habits are so hard to change. And you're right, they are. But let me tell you a secret: every habit is a seed. Some seeds grow into thorns, some into weeds, but the right seeds, nurtured every single day, blossom into a life of joy, purpose, and abundance. Today, I want to share with you not just ideas, but a roadmap, a way to plant the seeds today that your future self will thank you for. Before you can truly change anything in your life, you must first become aware of what is already happening within you. Most of us go through life on autopilot, waking up, going to work, scrolling on our phones, eating, sleeping, and repeating the same routines day after day without even realizing how these small, seemingly insignificant actions are quietly shaping our destiny. Imagine this: every thought you think, every action you take, even the tiny choices you make when no one is watching, are like brush strokes painting the canvas of your future. Yet, how often do we pause to notice these brush strokes? How often do we step back and say, wait, am I painting a picture I actually want to live in? Awareness is the seed of transformation. It is the moment you shine a light on your life and see clearly the habits that are either serving you or silently sabotaging you. Perhaps you reach for your phone every morning the moment you wake up, letting notifications and social media dictate your mood before you even step into the day. Maybe you find yourself snapping at people, losing patience, or avoiding tasks that matter most to you. These are the little habits, the unnoticed routines that quietly decide whether your life will be joyful, meaningful, and productive, or stressful, chaotic, and unfulfilled. The challenge is that these patterns are invisible until you pay attention. That's why so many of us feel stuck. We don't realize that the chains holding us back are made not of grand failures, but of repeated tiny habits that no one notices. Awareness is not judgment. It's simply noticing without blaming yourself, simply observing without resisting. It's the gentle act of saying, this is my life right now. These are my choices. This is what I am doing day after day. And from this moment of clear observation, transformation becomes possible. Because once you are aware, you have a choice. You can either continue letting your habits unconsciously shape your future, or you can start consciously deciding what habits to nurture and which ones to let go. Awareness is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. It is the first whisper of change, the quiet acknowledgement that says, I can do better, I deserve better. My future is worth the effort of noticing today. And once you become aware, the smallest changes become powerful because you now know exactly where to focus your energy, which habits to adjust, and which routines to cultivate. Awareness is not a one-time act, it is a daily practice, a constant check in with yourself, asking, am I living intentionally, or am I simply repeating what I've always done? The moment you choose to be aware, you plant the first seed that can grow into a life that is not shaped by chance, but by conscious, loving, deliberate action. Many of us underestimate the power of small actions. We look at transformation and think it requires grand gestures, dramatic changes, or some miraculous stroke of luck. But the truth is far simpler and far more beautiful. It is the tiny, consistent habits that quietly create the biggest impact in our lives. Imagine a river carving its way through mountains. It doesn't happen overnight. The water doesn't roar through in one violent gush. No, it flows steadily, drop by drop, year after year, until the mountain yields and a valley is formed. That is the power of small, repeated actions. That is the power of tiny habits done consistently. Think about your own life. Every skill you have, every strength you possess, every area where you have grown began with a small, almost invisible step. You learn to speak by practicing words over and over. You learn to walk by standing, falling, and standing again. No one became great at anything in a single moment. Excellence, mastery, and even happiness are built brick by brick, one small habit at a time. And yet, we often fall into the trap of impatience. We start something new and expect dramatic results immediately. We exercise once and feel discouraged. We read a few pages and think it won't make a difference. We meditate a single time and question its value. What we forget is that life is not a sprint, it's a gentle, unfolding process. Every small step, every tiny positive action you repeat daily compounds like interest in a bank. Day by day, week by week, year by year, the accumulation is extraordinary. You might not see it today or even next month, but one day you will look back and marvel at the distance you have traveled, all because you chose to start small and remain consistent. Consider this: if you read just 10 pages of a book every day, in 1 year you will have read thousands of pages. Knowledge that could change your perspective, your decisions, and ultimately your life. If you take a 15-minute walk daily, your health, energy, and clarity will shift in ways that seem magical, yet they are simply the result of consistent small actions. If you practice gratitude for just a few minutes each day, your mind gradually rewires itself, focusing on abundance rather than scarcity. Small habits may feel insignificant at first, almost invisible, but their impact is exponential. A drop of water may seem powerless, yet countless drops create rivers, oceans, and rain that nourishes the earth. Similarly, small actions repeated over time create a life of purpose, health, joy, and fulfillment. The secret is patience, persistence, and trust in the process. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to change overnight. What matters is that you start and that you keep showing up, because it is the small, steady, consistent steps that quietly, invisibly, and irresistibly shape your future. Many people make the mistake of thinking that to change a habit, all they need to do is stop doing the thing they don't like. Stop eating junk food, stop procrastinating, stop being impatient, stop scrolling on the phone. And yet, somehow, it never works. And the reason is simple: our minds and our behaviors don't respond well to emptiness. You cannot simply remove something from your life without replacing it with something else. It is like trying to pull a tree out of the ground without planting a new one in its place. The void will remain, and eventually, the old habit will creep back in. True change happens not when you focus on stopping, but when you focus on starting something new. Something better, something positive, something that feeds your growth. Think of a child learning to ride a bicycle. If the parent simply said, "Don't fall," the child would still fall. But when the child is given guidance, support, and encouragement, and shown how to pedal steadily, balance, and steer, then learning becomes natural. Habits are no different. They need guidance, alternatives, and consistent reinforcement. For example, If you want to stop being negative, don't just try to suppress negative thoughts. Instead, replace them with small practices that create positivity. A morning affirmation, a moment of gratitude, a small act of kindness. If you want to stop spending hours on social media, don't leave that time empty. Replace it with a 5-minute walk, a page of reading, or a meaningful conversation. The old habit slowly loses its grip when it is replaced with something that fulfills the same need in a healthier, more constructive way. Our minds are wired for patterns, and the brain loves to automate behaviors because it conserves energy. When you break a habit without replacing it, the brain goes looking for comfort and often returns to the old pattern because it knows it well. But when you introduce a positive replacement, you give your brain a new pathway to follow, and over time, this pathway strengthens and the old habit naturally fades. It is not about fighting yourself, it is about gently guiding yourself to a better way, step by step, day by day. The beauty of this approach is that it is empowering. You are no longer in a battle with yourself, trying to stop doing something. You are instead creating new, nourishing routines that make the old habits unnecessary. You are filling your life with seeds of growth, instead of focusing only on weeds you wish to remove. And here's the wonderful truth: when you replace a negative habit with a positive one, you don't just change your behavior, you change your energy, your mood, your perspective, and eventually your destiny. So, the key is simple but profound: never just remove, always replace. Every habit is a thread in the fabric of your life, and if you want that fabric to be strong, beautiful, and lasting, you must weave it intentionally. Replace the old with the new, the negative with the positive, the draining with the empowering. And watch quietly, patiently, as your life transforms, habit by habit, day by day. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to pick up certain habits when you are surrounded by the right environment, and how nearly impossible it becomes when the environment is working against you? Our surroundings, the people we spend time with, the places we go, even the objects we keep around us, quietly shape our choices, our moods, and ultimately our destiny. Think about it: if you enter a room where everyone is laughing, smiling, and sharing ideas, doesn't it naturally lift your spirits? And if you spend an hour in a cluttered, chaotic space, or with people who complain constantly, doesn't it drain your energy? Environment is not just background noise in your life, it is the soil in which your habits grow. The truth is, you cannot rely on willpower alone. We often think, I am strong, I can resist temptation, I can change on my own. And yes, willpower is important, but it is like trying to row a boat upstream in a raging current. It is exhausting and temporary. The smarter way is to adjust the current to change the environment so that your desired habits flow naturally. If you want to eat healthier, don't keep junk food at arm's reach. If you want to read more, don't leave books in a hidden drawer. Make them visible, inviting, and accessible. If you want to cultivate positivity, spend time with people who uplift, encourage, and inspire you instead of those who drag you down. Environment shapes habits because it shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your actions. You are constantly absorbing the energy around you, consciously and unconsciously. The conversations you have, the media you consume, the culture you live in, even the sounds and smells around you. All of these are quietly influencing your behavior. And the most powerful part is that once you intentionally shape your environment, the process of building good habits becomes effortless. What once required constant discipline now flows naturally because you have set the stage for success. Think of a garden. A gardener does not just plant seeds and then wait. He prepares the soil, removes the weeds, ensures sunlight, water, and nutrients are available. In the same way, your environment is the soil of your habits. You must prepare it, nurture it, and protect it from negativity. The people you allow into your inner circle, the spaces you occupy, the routines you create, all of these are powerful forces that either strengthen your growth or slowly erode it. So, if you want to change your habits, the first step is to look around and honestly ask yourself, is my environment supporting me? Or is it holding me back? Are the people I spend time with lifting me higher? Or are they quietly keeping me in old patterns? Are my surroundings organized in a way that encourages growth? Or do they distract, tempt, and drain me? Once you become aware, you can take conscious action, rearrange your environment, choose your company wisely, and design your spaces so that the life you want becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Because when your environment aligns with your intentions, your habits follow effortlessly, and your future begins to change in ways you could never imagine. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many of us think of it as some rigid, joyless force, a strict taskmaster that forces us to do what we don't want, a burden we must carry if we hope to succeed. But the truth is far more beautiful and empowering. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a muscle, a capacity that grows stronger the more you use it, a silent power within you that can guide your life in the direction of your deepest desires. Just like a muscle in your body, it needs practice, consistency, and care. You don't suddenly wake up one day with perfect discipline. It is developed, nurtured, and strengthened over time. Think about the way children learn to walk. At first, they stumble, fall, and often cry, but with patience, encouragement, and repeated effort, they slowly find balance. Each attempt strengthens their legs, their core, and their confidence. Discipline works the same way. Every time you choose to show up, every time you resist a small temptation, every time you stick to a habit, even when it's uncomfortable, you are exercising your discipline muscle. And just like any muscle, the more you train it, the easier it becomes to lift heavier weights, to run longer distances, to stay focused on bigger goals. The beauty of discipline is that it is not about perfection. It is about showing up again and again, even when it is difficult, even when it feels inconvenient. It is about creating small, repeated victories that slowly accumulate into monumental changes. Discipline allows you to take control of your impulses instead of letting them control you. It turns fleeting motivation into lasting momentum. Motivation comes and goes like the wind, but discipline is the steady engine that keeps your ship moving forward, no matter how stormy the sea. Think about your own life. The moments when you achieved something meaningful were not necessarily when you felt motivated or inspired. They were often the moments when you exercised discipline, when you made a choice to do what needed to be done, even when it wasn't easy. Discipline is the quiet hero behind every success, the invisible force that quietly carries you from intention to action, from dreams to reality. And here's the encouraging part. You don't need a huge burst of willpower to be disciplined. You start small. You commit to a tiny habit, a small action, a single choice done consistently. Over time, your discipline grows stronger, your focus sharper, and your ability to maintain new habits easier. You discover that what once felt like a struggle now feels natural, even joyful. You gain confidence not only in what you can do, but in who you are becoming. Discipline is freedom. It frees you from the chains of impulsive behavior, from the tyranny of short-term gratification, from the constant inner battle of should I or shouldn't I. When cultivated with patience, care, and consistency, discipline transforms from a chore into a superpower. And this is why, my friends, if you want to change your habits and shape your future, nurturing your discipline is not optional. It is essential. Because the stronger your discipline, the more effortlessly you can steer your life toward your highest potential, one small choice at a time, every single day. Celebrating small wins is one of the most underrated and most powerful tools for creating lasting change in your life. So often we focus only on the big goals, the dream job, the ideal body, the perfect relationship, or the grand achievement, and forget that life is made up of tiny moments, tiny victories, and tiny choices. Every time you take a step in the right direction, no matter how small, it is a seed planted in the garden of your future. And seeds grow best when we notice them, when we water them, when we celebrate that first little sprout pushing through the soil. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle. The first time they balance for a few seconds without falling. The first time they pedal without help. The first time they make it down the street. Each small success is celebrated with cheers, smiles, and encouragement. That celebration is not just joy, it is reinforcement. It tells the brain, this is good. Repeat this. This works. And the same principle applies to our own lives. When we recognize and celebrate small wins, we are essentially sending a message to our subconscious. Yes, I am on the right path. Yes, my efforts matter. Yes, I am capable of growth. A small wins create momentum. Life is like pushing a heavy boulder uphill. If you wait until the boulder reaches the very top before acknowledging your effort, you will feel exhausted, discouraged, and perhaps even give up. But when you pause to notice each inch you've climbed, each effort you've made, the journey becomes bearable, even joyful. Each small victory builds confidence, strengthens motivation, and makes the next step easier. It is not just the big milestones that define your progress, it is the accumulation of consistent, small victories that truly transforms your life. Celebration doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't require applause from others. It can be as simple as a quiet acknowledgement, a smile to yourself, a journal note, or a brief moment of gratitude for what you've accomplished. Even a small pause to reflect on progress reminds your brain that effort is meaningful and worthwhile. And over time, these moments of recognition compound just like your habits. They strengthen your resolve, build your self-esteem, and create a positive feedback loop that encourages you to keep going, even when the road is long and challenging. The danger of ignoring small wins is that it can make your journey feel endless, overwhelming, and thankless. You may look at the distance you need to travel and feel like you haven't made any progress at all. But when you start celebrating the little steps, completing a chapter of a book, going for a walk, choosing a healthy meal, resisting a negative thought, you begin to see that transformation is not a distant dream, but something happening every single day. Life is a series of moments, and the more you honor each step, the more beautiful the journey becomes. So, my friends, never underestimate the power of acknowledging the small victories. Every time you do, you are nurturing your confidence, reinforcing your habits, and quietly, almost invisibly, shaping your future. The life you desire is not created in a single leap, but in the patient accumulation of small, deliberate wins. Celebrate them. Treasure them. Let them motivate you to keep moving forward, one small step at a time, until the life you have imagined becomes the life you are living. Growth never happens in comfort. That is a truth both simple and profound, yet one we often forget. We live in a world that teaches us to avoid discomfort, to seek ease, and to cling to what is familiar. But if you look closely at the lives of people who have truly achieved something remarkable, whether in their careers, relationships, health, or personal development, you will notice a pattern. They embraced discomfort. They leaned into it rather than running from it. They understood that discomfort is not a sign of failure, but a signal of growth. Think about a seed planted in the soil. It doesn't grow because the ground is soft and warm all the time. It pushes, it struggles through the darkness, it stretches toward the light, and in that very struggle, it grows stronger roots, reaching deep for sustenance. Similarly, the challenges, uncertainties, and discomforts we face in life are the very moments that stretch us, shape us, and build resilience. Without them, our potential remains dormant, waiting for circumstances to awaken it, which they rarely do on their own. Discomfort shows up in many forms. It may be the fear of failure that comes when you try something new. It may be the awkwardness of learning a new skill, the strain of early mornings, or the discipline required to break a bad habit. It may be the courage needed to speak your truth, set boundaries, or make difficult decisions. And yes, it is uncomfortable. It may even make you doubt yourself, question your choices, or want to retreat. But every time you face discomfort, even in small ways, you are quietly signaling to yourself, I am capable, I can handle this, I am growing. The irony is that we often confuse comfort with happiness. We think that if life is easy, we are successful, and if it is difficult, we are failing. But true happiness, fulfillment, and progress rarely come from staying comfortable. They come from pushing the boundaries of your abilities, stretching your mind, and daring to step beyond what is familiar and safe. Growth, like muscle, is built through resistance. Every time you face a challenge and persist, you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling life's complexities. Discomfort also teaches patience and humility. It reminds us that change is rarely instant, that mastery is a journey, and that true transformation requires persistence. When you learn to sit with discomfort, to endure the temporary struggle for a greater purpose, you build a resilience that cannot be taken away. You develop a quiet confidence, not the loud confidence of arrogance, but the steady, unshakable belief in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. So, when discomfort comes, as it inevitably will, do not avoid it. Do not resent it. Embrace it as a teacher, as a guide, as the signpost that your life is moving forward. Lean into it, knowing that every uncomfortable moment you face today is shaping the strength, courage, and clarity you will need tomorrow. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the companion on the journey of transformation. And those who learn to walk with it, rather than flee from it, are the ones who truly change their habits, their lives, and ultimately, their future. Consistency is one of those quiet, almost invisible forces that shapes the course of our lives, yet it is so often overlooked. We live in a world that celebrates dramatic breakthroughs, overnight success stories, and sudden transformations, but real change rarely happens in grand gestures or isolated moments. It is not the one-time effort, the occasional burst of motivation, or the fleeting inspiration that transforms a life. It is the simple, repeated acts done day after day, even when you don't feel like it. Consistency is what turns intention into reality and effort into achievement. Think of a tiny river that starts as a trickle high up in the mountains. It doesn't carve valleys or shape landscapes overnight, but it continues to flow day after day, hour after hour, unrelenting in its quiet persistence. Over years, that same trickle becomes a river, cutting deep canyons and nourishing the land around it. That is the power of consistency. It magnifies your efforts over time in ways that often go unnoticed until one day you look back and see a life completely transformed. Consistency is particularly important when building habits because our brains are wired for repetition. New behaviors take time to form neural pathways. When you do something once, it barely scratches the surface. When you do it sporadically, the brain doesn't take it seriously. But when you show up every day, even in small ways, your mind begins to recognize, internalize, and adopt the new behavior as part of who you are. It becomes natural. It becomes effortless. What once required conscious effort gradually turns into instinct. This is why it is far better to meditate 5 minutes every day than to meditate an hour once a week, to write 1 page daily than to try writing 100 pages in a single day, to walk 15 minutes consistently rather than running 5 kilometers sporadically. The cumulative effect of daily, consistent action is staggering. It is like compounding interest in a bank account. Each day adds a little more, and over time, the growth is exponential, almost magical. Consistency also builds trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable, capable, and disciplined. That belief, once established, fuels bigger actions, bolder decisions, and greater achievements. On the other hand, inconsistency breeds doubt, frustration, and self-criticism, leaving you trapped in cycles of starting and stopping, trying and failing, hoping and giving up. By simply showing up every day, even imperfectly, you build a foundation that is unshakable, a momentum that propels you forward toward your goals. And the beauty of consistency is that it is available to everyone. You don't need extraordinary talent, limitless energy, or perfect circumstances. You only need a commitment to keep showing up one day at a time. Even when life is messy, when motivation wanes, or when obstacles arise, the choice to remain consistent is the choice that determines your future. It may feel small, insignificant, or even tedious in the moment, but the ripples of that quiet, repeated effort spread far beyond what you can see. So remember, the road to transformation is not paved with bursts of effort. It is built with steady, deliberate, and unwavering consistency. It is the small, repeated actions that ultimately define your life, shape your character, and create the future you desire. The question is not whether you will do something big tomorrow. The question is, will you do something consistently today, and the next day, and the day after that? Because in consistency lies the secret to lasting change, growth, and fulfillment.